صلوات. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. My respected scholar, my elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the first of the Al-Hur seminars. Hopefully, inshallah, there will be many more to come. Before we start, can I please request Qasim to start with the recitation of the Holy Quran? Salawat.
From Muhammad and Ali Muhammad Salawat. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين. لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم. ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين. إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون. إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون. فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين. فما يكذبك بعد بالدين أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين. أليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
صل على محمد
Thank you, Qasim, for that beautiful recitation. We are very lucky today to have Hujjat al-Islam, Sheikh Abdul Jalil, with us today for today's topic, the rise of social media and its compatibility with Islam. Paper and mic will be passed around for the questions from the floor. Alternatively, you can text your questions in with the number that has been sent out. And before we start with the questions, I'd like to pass over to the Sheikh for an introduction on the topic.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم وأعدوا لهم ما استطعتم من قوة صدق الله العلي العظيم. My dear brothers and dear sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I would like to just take a few minutes to talk about this important topic that we are discussing tonight. But prior to that, I just want to explain the verse that I just read. The ayah was revealed at the time where Muslims were oppressed and were killed, murdered, tortured, you name it. And later on, after Prophet moved to Medina, and still the mushrikeen were still killing, trying to torture. Then Allah told the Prophet and the mu'mineen in this verse, وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ, meaning prepare yourself and be well prepared and very strong to match any power that comes on your way so that you can resist and defend yourself. Now, this verse was revealed at that time. However, Quran comes with the title called Al-Umumat. Come generally, but it can be applied on specifics based on the timing. Now, today as we speak, and I'm talking about personally view, the most important weapon in the world today as we speak, in my personal view, is a pen. Not nuclear bomb. The pen is the most powerful thing in the world today. And that is why I told you in my Jummah, they give me stick. I told them, I don't want stick unless if it shows like a pen or pencil. Because, as you know, this stick that we hold in the Salat al-Jum'ah, it used to be a sword. Then as time changed, today in some countries, they hold gun. You go to Qum, those who have been to Jummah and Qum, the Imam holds gun. Now, personally, I say, I don't think gun is the most powerful today. Pen is the most powerful. And Quran says, Noon wal qalami wa ma yasturun. I swear by the pen, because powerful thing today is a pen. And the pen related to media. Today somebody can say it on media to write something and the entire world can view it and see it. And pen can change people's view in the matter of seconds. And that is why media is so important today. And Islam is not against media. As a matter of fact, as the ayah was saying, وَأَعِدُّوا, strengthen yourself in those fields. Now, apparently, if today the enemies are talking about guns, you cannot say, okay, I'm going to come and fight my enemy with the bow, with the arrow. Which world are you living in? Or I'm going to match up with the stone. No. Or you're not going to say, okay, inshallah, when Imam Mahdi comes, he's going to have horse versus jet plane or this, advanced, planes that can bombs and nuclear. No, it's not going to match things like that. Now, one of the things that Islam teaches, when any technology comes in your way, you should also use it and use it to the best of your ability. Now, with that said, media is one of the powerful things today, whether we like it or not. Now, however, Islam is also telling us to match up, be in the media, use the media to spread Islam, to spread teachings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. But one important thing we have to remember is that the media is like a knife. You can use to cut it what? Like a knife, you can cut it tomatoes, salad, and you can stab people too. Media is the same thing. Now, how you use it is what determines how the media should be. However, if I can use media as a tool to spread Islam and Ahlul Bayt, obviously that is absolutely a good thing. And we should work on it and be the very, very on the top when it comes to media, inshallah.
I'm sorry. A car needs moving. It's a Skoda in the Bowling Green with the number plate of DE62JZX. It needs to be moved. That's DE62JZX. Thank you. Thank you for that, Sheikh. That was very enlightening. We've had a couple questions from online. The first one is conversing between opposite genders on social media sites allowed in the context of business and academic settings?
Mhm. Now, apparently, you heard the question. What is the Islamic point of view when a male and female to talk in terms of on media? Now, let's be specific. Islam does not stand in front of a man and a woman to talk. No. As a matter of fact, if you look in the Quran, anytime Allah mentioned the believing male, the next to it is what? The believing male. Al-mu'minun wal-mu'minat. Al-muslimin wal-muslimat. That's what the Quran is. Now, so Islam would not come to stand between a man and a woman to talk, whether it's on the media or in person. But what Islam is saying is that as we talk with the opposite gender, one, we have to keep in mind that the conversation should be between the line of the teaching of Islam. That's number one. Now, number two, Islam says as you talk, you should not go out to invite shaitan to be the third party. And that is two important things that we have to observe. And as long as these two things are observed, conversation between a male and a female regarding business, regarding anything that is not haram, absolutely is okay and accepted.
Sorry, but we've had more number plates that need moving. The first one is HV09NOU. The second one, MR14YXK. The third one, ET66AEK. The fourth one, R400FYK. And RV16AXM. If any of those are your number plates, can you please move the car? Thank you. The second question is also from online. It is, if a woman wishes to upload on social media any noha or munkabat recited by her in tune with the intention of spreading the azadari and serve the Ahlul Bayt, then is she allowed to do so?
Apparently, this is a fiqh question. And this fiqh question, first of all, before I answer, I will prefer the person to ask the marja and see what the marja's opinion on that. But generally speaking, it is known from the Islamic point of view that a voice of a woman is considered awra. Awra meaning private, where it should not be heard by other people. Now, that is why even in Salat, and Salat that man is supposed to read out loud, Fajr, or Maghrib or Isha, still for women, they say, no, you shouldn't read it out loud because of that voice. So putting a noha, yes, I know it's a good intention, but if provided that the listeners and the audience are going to be only female, that would be okay. But if you don't know, perhaps maybe other men might listen who are not mahram, then no, it shouldn't be placed on the public. Now, what other scholars, Maraj said, if Noha is read by multiple females, where the voice cannot be determined whose voice is this, then they say apparently that will be okay. But if it's just one woman to read Noha in the public where other men can listen, then our scholars say no to that. Yes.
The final question that's been texted into me is it permissible to share images of idols and non-Muslim worship places on social media with the intention of appreciating work of art?
Appreciating what?
Work of art.
Oh, okay. Posting other place of worship, provided that it's not promoting that religion. When we post something, images about any other, worship place, if we are posting it and the posting indicate about promoting that religion and also inviting to that religion, then of course it's not allowed. Because in Islam, the true religion that we supposed to spread is Islam. Inna deena indallah al-Islam. The religion that is accepted by Allah is Islam. Now, other religions, wrong or right, that's between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But promoting those, we should not. But if I put it for the sake of appreciating or showing some differences between Islam and other religions, or how Islam is great compared to this religion, if that will help Islam in that way, then apparently that will be okay. But if generally posting for the sake of posting, one should refrain from that. It's better.
We will come back to the questions that have been texted in. We will now open up to the floor. Are there any questions from either side? Paper will be passed around, and if anyone has any questions, please hold up your hand and someone will bring a mic around.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a question. Those come from prophets, how can you tell which one is people about that? Because I'm sure TikTok is widespread and youngsters nowadays get influenced by these videos.
Yes, this is a very important question because I know a lot of people, when we read Hadith, we just take Hadith and try to spread it without checking whether the Hadith is authentic or not. Now, as you know, in Islam, there is a research and a science called Ilm-ud-Diraya. Ilm-ud-Diraya means the science of Hadith, that our scholars have written so many hundreds of books in regarding this subject, and it's taught in Hausa too. That when Hadith comes to us, Qala Rasulullah, Qala Imam Ja'far, we shouldn't just take it just because it's Hadith. Why? Because even at the time of Rasulullah, they made up Hadith in the name of Rasulullah that he didn't say. And the Prophet, one time he came and he stood on minbar. He says, "Man kadhaba alayya muta'ammidan falyatabawwa maq'adahu minan nar." Whoever lies and ascribe it to me should find his place in the hellfire. Well, he's alive. Now, after Rasulullah, think what happened after that. It's like easy access. Now we can do anything we want. And Bani Umayyah, they have spent many and many money in promoting false hadith. And this is not from the Shia school of thought. If you want to check, there is one author, Egyptian author, he's an historian, and it's called Mahmoud Abu Rayya. He's an historian, Egyptian. He wrote a book, and he said in that book that at the time of Umar ibn al-Khattab, Abu Huraira came to visit Umar ibn al-Khattab. And as they were talking, he started mentioning about some hadith. And Umar got angry and struck him with the stick. And he said, and I quote, لَقَدْ أَكْثَرْتَ الْأَكَاذِيبَ عَلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ. You have told so much lies upon the Prophet. That needs to stop. Now that is back in those days. Umar is saying, Abu Huraira have told so many lies. That's the situation. So when the hadith comes, we cannot just take it because قال رسول الله or قال Imam Jafar al-Sadiq. No. So what do we need to do? Ahl al-Bayt told us how to verify what hadith. Number one, Imam tells us إذا جاءكم الحديث عنا فعرضوه على كتاب الله. Whenever hadith come to you, قال رسول الله, قال Imam Jafar, قال Ali, قال Sadiq, I said, first of all, match up with the Quran. Evaluate with the Quran. And he says, فَمَا وَافَقَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ فَهُوَ لَنْ مِنَّا. If it matches the Quran, it's them from us. Because we would not say anything that against Quran. Now, فَمَا خَالَفَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ. If it goes against the teaching of Quran, it says, فَضْرِبُوهُ أَرْضَ الْجِدَارِ. It says, hit it at the wall and throw it in the trash. Because we would not say anything against the Quran. Now, that is why in Ilm al-Diraya, in the science of hadith, the way they do it, they research in two parts. Hadith, because every hadith has two parts. One is called al-sanad, one is called al-matn. Al-sanad means the chain of narrators. They check each and every one of the narrators. Are they reliable? Did they quote it from somebody they saw? Or no, they quoted from somebody they haven't seen. Because generation-wise, sometimes, second generation quote from the fourth generation. Or fourth generation quoting from the fifth or seventh generation, for example. Now, it doesn't match up. Now, that is all have to be verified. Then after that, the text itself have to be verified. If it matches the Quran, then yes, we take it. But if it doesn't, we throw it. So when hadith comes, that's what we need to do. And if we don't know, then we check with the Ahl al-Ilm that I've seen this hadith, it looks beautiful, but is it authentic? Now, if they say yes, it's authentic, there is scholars, because as you know, in the science of hadith, they have different categories of hadith. There is hadith they call sahih. There is hadith they call maqbool. There is hadith, what they said, da'if. They have different categories. So, if the scholars who are, were aspect in that field, they say, no, hadith is good and it's authentic, that one can take. But just online, I don't think Ayatollah, TikTok is enough to be taken as reliable. Yes.
Before we carry on with the questions, there's one more card that needs moving. It's RE58ARZ. If that is your card, can you please move it? Thank you. Are there any more questions from the floor, either on the gent side or the lady side? Mic's being passed over to you.
Who made the Zulfiqar?
MashaAllah, that's a good question. Zulfiqar, as you know, is a sword of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, salamullahi alayhi. Now, from the narration that we have, Zulfiqar was a sword that Jibreel brought to Imam Ali alayhi salam. Now, some narrations believed that it came from Allah to Imam Ali alayhi salam as a gift. So it came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Are there any more questions from the floor? If not, I have some questions from the messages, and the first one is Many of the mainstream social media platforms are created and controlled by Western entities with a political Western agenda. How can we avoid falling into serving these agendas in a society which is so dependent on these platforms?
As you know, definitely today, whether we like it or not, the media is controlled by the non-Muslims. Whether it be those media online or TVs or whatever the media might be. Now, what is important is we have to get into those fields, but with the knowledge and very wisdom. We can't not just get into that just because it's just media. No, we have to equip ourselves. And that's what the Quran says. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran telling the mu'mineen, Ya ma'shar al-jinni wal-ins, in istata'tum an tanfudhu min aqtari samawati wal-ard, fanfudhu. You want to explore the heavens and the earth? Please do. But then Quran says, La tanfudhu illa bisultan. Don't just enter just because it's there. Make sure that you equip with the knowledge. Now, so when we want to go to those websites, please do. But at the same time, you have to go there with the purpose and knowledge and wisdom. Because here's the thing. If you are not well equipped, you will go there in the name of helping, and then you end up becoming a victim. And that is that's not what we want. So before you go there, make sure that you know why you're going there. You have a vision, you have an aim, you have an objective, and you have a very strong background, and enter in that with that wisdom, and make sure that you present Islam and help Islam in that way, and there is no problem in doing so.
Thank you. Another question is, there is a huge emphasis on women's hijab. Can we have a reminder on what is acceptable for men's hijab? For example, going on holiday and wearing just shorts seems to be acceptable in today's world for Muslim men. Should men wear shirts when swimming in public?
Okay. Now, as you know, the concept of hijab in Islam or in Quran, it did not start with the women. If you want to set the record straight, if you check in the Quran, Allah did not ask women to cover until He asked men to start covering. In Quran, Allah says, كل المؤمنين. Mu'mineen is the male. Then after that, وَلِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. So men comes first. So when we talk about hijab, we normally and often thinking about women as if men are absolutely free and they don't have to do hijab. No, they do. So the hijab of men is a little bit different compared to the female hijab. Now, the first hijab of a man is what the Quran says, يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ, meaning lowering your gaze. That's the first hijab for men. All right. Then after that, Quran talks about how a man is supposed to dress. Now, I know, mashallah, today there is a fashion. We all like to wear very tight clothes. Men, mashallah, wear short sleeves and the muscles are showing. We like to show, mashallah, tight clothes that our belly is, mashallah, we get the, abs, all right. Now, but according to Islam and the Islamic teaching, yes, you're allowed to wear short sleeves, but it shouldn't be showing your shape even as a man. A man is supposed also to dress modesty too. Now, if you go back to the hadith, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, on the day of Ashura, before the battle, he asked that he wants a shirt to wear inside of his qabah. They brought him a shirt, he looked at it, he rejected it. He said, I'm not going to wear this. He asked him what? He says, هَذَا لِبَاسُ مَنْ ضُرِبَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الظِّلَّةُ وَالْمَسْكَنَةُ. See, this is a cloth of those who have been disgraced. And I'm not going to wear that. He rejected it. So, as a man, we also have to wear and dress modesty. Now, I'm not saying everybody have to be Maulana to wear the Aba and Kaba and Kufi everywhere you go, because that's not practical for everybody. But we all know what is the practical and also presentable or decent clothing according to the teaching of Islam, and that is what one should do. Now, if I'm going to swim in, also, perhaps if there are other genders also, one have to observe that too, how they dress and how they go in the public, whether in swimming or in the public places. And that is according to the teaching of Islam.
Thank you, Sheikh. I have one. We have lots and lots of questions coming through messages. I'm sorry if we don't get to all of them. We do have a limited time. The next question is, if the Prophet was alive and we had the social media at his time when he conquered Mecca, do you think he would censor it if it was used against him, or would he stick to the freedom of option even against him?
Now, this is a great question. Absolutely, it's a great question. And the reason why I say it's a great question, because we think Islam is against freedom of speech. And that's not the case. And I'm going to tell you, I have not seen a religion that gave freedom of speech than Islam. And if you find one, let me know. Now, how do you determine freedom of speech? Look in the Quran, how Allah observes freedom of speech with shaitan. Shaitan, enemy of Allah, comes and talks to Allah his own mind. And Allah doesn't shut him down. And as a matter of fact, he put it in the Quran, what he says and what Allah says. And they were going back and forth. I do this, you do this. No, you can't do it. No, I can. And Allah put it in the Quran, so that generation after generation, they read it. Quran didn't shut shaitan down and kept whatever he said in the hidden. No, Allah let it. And you can read it every day. So Quran and Islam is the most freedom speech you can ever get. That's number one. And number two, the Prophet, of course. If the Prophet is today alive, or Imams, I guarantee you, they will give their enemies a chance to speak against them. And they wouldn't shut them down. You know why? Because at the time of Imam Ali, there were Khawarij who had their masjid next to Imam Ali's masjid. And they were cursing and bashing Imam Ali. The companions of Imam Ali, they came, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, this is what they're doing. What should we do? Imam Ali says, Da'uhum, let them be. Allahu Akbar. And this is what Imam Ali was the leader. But she let him be. But one thing I'm going to tell you, I say, لا تصلوا بتلك المساجد. Don't pray in those masajid. فإنها مساجد السوء. They are bad masjids. But didn't shut them down. So we should have the energy or to hear our opponent too. It's not a bad thing. Let them speak. Now, if you see somebody shutting their enemy, it's because they're scared. But Ahlul Bayt or the Prophet will never, silent his opponent just because they disagree with them. And that is not the policy of Islam or the teaching of Ahlul Bayt.
Thank you, Sheikh. Another question is how to best combat Islamophobia or Shiaphobia on social media.
In Islam, you have to understand that Islamophobia didn't start from today. Has been and will continue to be. Why and how? Anytime there is a revolution or a change, anytime, and you can look at throughout the history, when there is a regime running things, leading things, whenever that regime changes, you will have people who are against it, and they will say something against that. That's the situation. Every revolution, that's what it is. Now, with that said, if that happens, Islam is teaching us that there is a proper way to deal with it. And those teachings are in line with the teaching of Quran. And that is what we need to do. It's always follow the teaching of Islam in dealing with those Islamophobia. Now, how do we do that? Number one, we have to understand that as we combat with Islamophobia, we are not allowed to go as they do. No, we have to call people to Islam as the Quran says, بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة, with the wisdom and with the teaching of logic. Now, if they go ahead and said Islam is this, Islam is crazy, Islam is about bloodshed, now you have to teach them the beauty side of Islam that they don't know. And that is how you can match up. And that is how we're supposed to teach people or go against the Islamophobia with the proper teaching of Islam, inshallah.
Thank you, Sheikh. We'll be opening the questions back up to the floor again. Are there any questions from either side? Start with the ladies and then move over to the gents.
How can we restrain from using social media excessively?
Now, refraining from using social media is up to a person. Now, if I see that me being on social media is taking me away from the principles of the teaching of Islam, or it's getting me to be dragged towards shaitan, then apparently social media is not for you. Okay. So if I know for sure me being on social media, because today, mashallah, people, you got to understand, my dear brothers and sisters, this media that we have, don't think that somebody will spend billions of dollars for no reason. There is agenda behind it. And one of the agenda is to drive youth towards one direction. And that is why today you see most of our time is spent on media. Now, if I'm learning, that's a good thing. But if I'm going to be there, mashallah, some people, I went to a restaurant, I'm having, mashallah, fish sandwich. Let's put it on the face media. All right? Mashallah, we are traveling, we're here, let's take it on media. We get here, we're going to buy a gas, let's take it on media. First of all, you got to understand something, brothers and sisters. You got to give yourself some sort of privacy. Because one important thing, some people might see your progress and they're not going to be happy with it. And that can cause what we call hasad, jealousy, bad eye, and you are causing for yourself. So protect yourself. Now, there are certain things you put it on the media, that's fine. But it's not everything. All right? Sometimes we put some things on media that is not necessary. But if it's something beneficial, useful for the ummah, for others, that's fine. So if I know that me being on media is not good for me, then I should quit and leave it. But if I have a purpose on media, I can use it to propagate Islam, teach others, invite others to Islam, do something beneficial for Muslims or Islam, or for humanity in general, then media is for you. So you have to evaluate yourself and see what is your role on media. If you don't have any good reason, then you need to get out of it. But if you have a good purpose, then be there and serve humanity.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Question from the gent side.
Assalamu alaikum. There's a hadith of the Prophet. There is no israf in perfume and horses. So question that if I buy excessive perfume, like I'm not going to use it, just keep it at home. Is it allowed or is it?
Now the question of israf, Quran forbids any type of israf. Allah said in the Quran, وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. Allah said, do not waste in anything. Now, when I say anything, I mean anything. Don't waste your time. If you waste your time, it's haram in Islam. Now, wasting water. I'm doing wudu, right? I open the tap and it's running and I'm chit-chatting with somebody. That's israf. It's haram in Islam. No, even wasting electricity. Like some of us in the house, I'm downstairs, but all the electricity, all the lights are on upstairs. Nobody's there. There's TV going on, and then there is this. That's israf. Now, any type of israf is forbidden in Islam. And Quran says, إن المبذرين كانوا إخوان الشياطين وكان الشيطان لربه كفورا. The brothers and the friends of Satan are those who waste. No, that is general speaking. Now, coming to perfume. In Islam, Islam allows you to buy, provided that you need or you want. Okay? Islam doesn't forbid you to buy something that you like, you want. Islam says, go ahead. But provided that you're going to use it. If you're not going to use it, guess what? Islam says you can buy it. But I'm going to come after you to pay khums on it. If you're willing to buy something to keep it, and then later on Islam said, because anything you buy unused for 1 year, Islam has a tax on it that you have to pay. Because here's what Islam is saying. You buy something, you bought something you don't need, you didn't use. Islam says, I know tons of poor people out there who can use that. So here's the thing. You can keep it, but I'm going to tax you from the homes that you have to pay, so I take care of the needs. So instead of buying something for the sake of buying, I will say don't buy it. Instead, use that money and help those who might be needed. Or use it in things that you need. It's better than to buy it just for the sake of buying.
Thank you, Sheikh. Are there any more questions from the floor? We only have time for a couple more questions, so I apologize if your question was not answered.
Since Muawiyah and Yazid were evil, were there any good people in his family?
That's a good question, mashallah. That's a historical question. We know Yazid and Muawiyah are bad people. Were there some good people in their family? I will say yes. There are some, but some of them, they're not as good as they're supposed to be. Okay? Now, one of them, from the lineage of them, is Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, who did some good things their time. One of the things they did, he is the one who stopped cursing of Imam Ali on the minbar, which is a good thing. Now, another thing also, he gave Fadak back to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, which is again good thing. But what he didn't do is to turn the power back to Ahlul Bayt. He still maintained the power, and that was not a good thing to do. Now, then there is also Muawiyah ibn Yazid, who also was, apparently he refused to take the power after they wanted him to be, and he said, no, it's not for me, and he let it go. He left it, refused to become Khalifa, and he was a good one. Yes, so they were this good, but majority of them were no good.
Thank you, Sheikh. What is your opinion on the rise of social media promoting narcissism and self-absorption and how to tackle it?
Well, in Islam, being into self is absolutely discouraged. Not to say that Islam doesn't want you to like yourself. Okay, Islam is not against the self, but when it becomes too much, then it becomes an issue. And even our scholars, there are different topics. One of them is called Al-Ujub. Al-Ujub is when a person started to feel he is the best, and the center of everything should be him. And he looks at other people like they're nothing. He is the center. That is absolutely no. And that is type of disease of the soul, where our scholars, they dealt with it in ilm al-akhlaq, how to deal with those kind of situations and how to get out of that. Right. So if a person on the media have this, of course, he is sick and he needs to get help, or he needs to be helped to see things differently. And that is my suggestion, especially on media. People like that, they need to be addressed and they need to be corrected. That's not how Islam is about.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Another question that I've had texted in is, what is your advice to parents who are struggling to decide whether their children should have access to the internet and social media?
Well, I believe, parents have to have the right to make decision whether their children should get involved with the media or not. But what I'm saying is that, yes, it's good as a parent to be protective of your children. There's no doubt about it. Because you are responsible in front of Allah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. Protect yourself and your children. That's your responsibility as a father and as a mother. But don't be overprotective. You know why? It happened with Yaqub alayhi salam. You know, Yaqub alayhi salam was overprotecting Yusuf. He didn't want anything to do to touch Yusuf, not anybody to interact with Yusuf. One day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called him, Ya Yaqub, I see you're so protective of your child. Yusuf said, yes, because I want to protect him. Then Allah asked him, Ya Yaqub, what would you do the day that you're no longer alive? When Yusuf have no, you're not alone. What would you do? He said, nothing. He said, then listen. Yusuf should be let to go out, deal with some challenges, things will happen, and he will learn, and you guide him, and that will walk him through. That is when the brothers of Yusuf came later. They say, Ya Abana, or our father, let us take Yusuf with us. Yaqub said, I don't feel comfortable, but yes, you can. And he let Yusuf go. And surely enough, Yusuf went through so much. But eventually what happened? He became the king of Egypt. So we have to teach our children that they have to go through some challenges. But we can let them on media, but we have to be very observant too. We have to keep eye on them. Because you live in this world that you cannot protect your child from everything. No matter how much you try. Right? But that doesn't mean that to let them loose to go do whatever they want. You should get some balance between the two. You're giving some chances, and you're observing and you're correcting. No, this is right. This is wrong. This is how it's supposed to be. So you're correcting them, and they learn as they grow. That is what I think is the right thing to do.
We have a question from the gent side.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Just a supplementary question on the freedom of speech that our Ahlul Bayt have allowed as much freedom of speech. Then we see in the time of Imam Khomeini that he issued a fatwa against the satanic verses. How do you relate to those two?
That is, mashallah, it's a good one too. Of course. You know, in Islam, we all are given freedom. No doubt about it. But your freedom is there to use, provided that your freedom is not hurting other people's freedom. I don't know if it's clear. I'm allowed to be free, right? But my freedom is on the track and okay, provided that it's not hurting others. Now, let me give you one example. Now, there is hadith that we have, and our scholars are using that in fatwa. It is called Hadith La Darar. What does it mean? You know, at the time of the Prophet, there was two people who have a dispute. One is Ansari, one is Muhajir. And what happened? Ansari is the people of Medina. Al-Muhajir are the immigrant. Now, one of them has the farm. Okay? It's a big farm, dates and all of that. Ansari, who is the people of Medina, he had one palm tree in the big farm that is owned by this Muhajir. Then the Muhajir, he and his family live in the farm. But this Ansari, whenever he wants to come to the farm where he has one palm tree, he would walk in, no salam, nothing, just walk in the farm. The man told him, listen, I know you have a palm tree here. You have all right to come here. But can we do a deal? Anytime you want to come, just say, Ya Allah, Assalamu alaikum. So my wife, my children, they wear hijab before you walk in. He says, no, I don't want to say salam to you. I want to walk in, to come to my palm tree and walk out. I don't need to say salam to you or to your wife. Then the Ansari said, okay, of course, that's your right, your freedom. You don't have to say salam to me. But here's the deal. Now, since you don't want to say salam, can we make a deal? Can you sell me your palm tree? So I buy, you can go somewhere, buy your palm tree and do whatever you want to do. Then the man said, no, I don't want to sell you a palm tree. He said, okay, let's do another deal. Now, you don't want to sell your one palm tree. Now, I'm going to sell you the entire farm. You buy it, and I walk out. So you have the farm for yourself. You can walk in anytime you want. He said, I don't want to buy it from you. So he said, look, you don't want to say salam. You don't want to sell your palm tree. You don't want to buy from me. So what do you want? He said, nothing. I want to come in anytime I want. I don't want to say salam as I wish. Then he said, okay, listen. We have a leader called Rasulullah. Let's go to him and see how he's going to handle this issue for us. He went to Rasulullah. Ya Rasulullah, this is the issue. What do you think? Rasulullah said to him, the Ansari, buy him the palm tree and I will pay you the price. The Ansari said, no, I don't want to sell the palm tree. The Prophet said, okay, another deal. Now sell him and I'll pay you twice of the price. He said, no, I'm not selling. I said, okay, sell him the palm tree and I will guarantee you a palm tree in Jannah. He said, I don't want the palm tree in Jannah. Can you imagine this man? Okay. Then the Prophet said, okay. Now, look at how patient the Prophet is with him. I said, okay, here's the deal. Now, you rejected all this, fine. But here's the deal. Now, why don't you buy from him, right? And then you have all the palm trees for you as much as... He said, I'm not buying it, Ya Rasulullah. Then the Prophet said, look, you're not selling it as much, double price. You're not saying salam. You're not willing to buy. You're not doing any... I said, no, I just want to come in there as much as I wish and do whatever I want and walk out. Then the Prophet said, listen, Ya Muhajir, go to that palm tree, unplug his palm tree and throw it out on the street. Why? Then the Prophet said, لأن في الإسلام لا ضرر ولا ضرار. You cannot harm others in the name of your freedom. Now, going back to the story, Salman Rushdie is free to say whatever you want, but not cursing and downing others and hurting others in the name of his freedom. That is where the problem came in, and that is where the fatwa came in. Now, if he was to be free to say things that are fact and the truth, that's one thing. But he was lying and was making up things which are not true against of Islam and the Prophet Muhammad. And that is why Imam Khomeini has a right, and Muslims have a right to make that fatwa as Imam Khomeini did. Yes.
Thank you very much, Sheikh. Unfortunately, we only have time for one more question, and that came through as a message. And it's, how can we use social media collectively to prepare for the coming of the Imam? And if so, how would that have an impact when the Imam does return?
No, definitely, I think media can be one of the best way, to propagate or spread the teaching of Imam Al-Hujjah, alayhi salam. And we can do this about proper teaching of Imam Al-Hujjah. And one thing about Imam that we can use is to let people to know that there is something called hope. And that hope is related to 12 Imam. Today, the world is thirsty of a leader who will come to rescue mankind from all these troubles that we have. And that leader is not anybody in Washington, D.C. It's not anybody in any part of the world. They have to come from Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And that leader is nobody but Imam Zaman. Because humanity have tried all leaders in the world that you can think of, all sort of systems and regimes that you can think of, and all has failed human being. Now human being is looking for divine leader who can rescue mankind and lead them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that leader is the Imam Al-Hujjah. So we can also use this as a way to propagate about Imam Al-Hujjah and let the world know who is he and what is the system that he's coming with and what is the change he's going to bring to the world, so that people can learn about Imam Zaman and stay connected to him. That's number one. And two, we also can use media to teach people how we can prepare ourselves for this Imam. What do I need to do as a person? What do we need to do as a community? What do we need to do as a family in inviting the Imam to come as quick as possible? We all have a responsibility. Now, this can be one of the ways to propagate about Imam al-Hujjah on our media and invite people to learn about him through media. And that could be some of the good things that we can do for the 12th Imam, inshallah.
Sorry, but we are out of time. I'm sorry to all those questions that didn't get answered, and I'd like to thank Sheikh so much for enlightening us, especially in these times where social media plays such a big part in all of our lives, and to educate us on how to be smarter on it and hopefully look after ourselves more online and stay on the right path. Just a few things before we finish up. Food will be served in the ladies' side and in the overflow in the gents. And thank you thank you to everyone for attending. Any support that is given to us, if you'd like to speak to Zainali Remtullah on the gents' side and Zainab Nanji on the ladies' side, that would be greatly appreciated. And we'll finish off with Ziyarat. And that is recited by Hussein Laka.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء، السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين، وعلى تسعة المعصومين من ذريتك علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والهجة بن الحسن، أجل الله تعالى وفرجك وسعة الله مخرجك وظهورك، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك الحجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.